Yola, and then we'll move on to hearing from the consultant who has been working on this ESG implementation guide for MSMEs in Nigeria. After which my colleague would run us through feedbacks, review of the document, and validation of the draft document, and then we'll take next steps and closing remark. We want to appreciate everyone on this call. Let me just go to the list of participants on the call. I can see a lot of members of the ESG Advisory Board. Would like to appreciate you all. Because of time, we won't be taking introductions one after the other. I can see the chairman of the board on the call, Mr. Femi Jayola. Thank you for joining us. I can see Mr. David Chukwu is also a member of the board. Thank you for joining us. I can also see Madam Lovely Nukoye. She's the second vice chairman of the board. Thank you for joining us, ma. Professor Abiola Allen is also a member of the advisory board. Thank you for being part of this. Madam Victoria is also on the call. Thank you for joining us. I can also see some of my colleagues from NECA. Thank you, colleagues, for joining on this call, and also members of NECA. I can see some names on the call. Thank you all for being part of this validation workshop. The journey of ESG started a few years ago for NECA. And, NECA is, always ready to ensure that our members are carried along, well educated, are giving the best to ensure that their businesses are sustainable. And part of that is this ESG journey that we started. We started off by training some companies. We moved on to creating the State of Play report, which was launched last year, December. After which we also inaugurated the ESG Advisory Board. And then from the outcomes of, the ESG State of Play report, we've identified some gaps that's majorly MSMEs in Nigeria. Some of them don't know the steps to take to ensure that they are ESG compliant. And that's where this conversation on creating a guideline, an implementation guideline for these MSMEs to ensure that they have a smooth sail in starting off their ESG, ESG reporting, ESG journey. And that's why we've started this journey of putting the implementation guide together. And on that note, without saying too much, I'll yield the floor to the advisory board chairman in person of Mr. Femi Jayola to take us through the opening remark. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemisi. Yeah, thanks to the NECA Secretariat. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow members of the advisory board. I won't spend too much time so that we can get into the real discussion points for today. We'll just provide some context and background to why we're on this call today. I think some of the things are the things that Yemisi mentioned earlier on. But beyond that, I think we all agree that MSMEs play a fundamental role in driving economic growth across the world, particularly in Nigeria as well. And it's a sector that's faced several challenges over the years and continue to face those challenges today. So there's a difficulty in accessing credit. There's difficulty in terms of infrastructural support to grow their business. There's challenges in terms of the governance process. There are challenges in terms of financial reporting. A lot of challenges they face today. And I think, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, there are other stakeholders are also now paying interest in MSMEs and how they comply with ESG requirements. So I think what this guide and workshop does is to provide a template that makes it very easy for these businesses to meet ESG requirements. And I'm sure as we go through this conversation today, we will see the steps that are required for them to follow. We'll see the potential benefits they can derive from complying with this ESG requirement, as well as support that is available to MSMEs in driving this agenda. The other bit to say is around the fact that at the end of this exercise, I'm hoping, and I think my colleagues are hoping as well, that we'll come up with a simple, straightforward guide that allows MSMEs implement these ESG requirements, but more importantly, they will see this requirement as a competitive advantage as opposed to just a regulatory tick box exercise. So hopefully that will be a key measurement of success at the end of the day. So on this note, I would like to hand over to Mr. Debawale to give us, go into the details of the guide, and then we can then open it up for further conversations around how we proceed forward from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that opening remark. And like you said, we want the guide to be as simple as possible for implementations for the MSME. Before I yield the floor to Mr. Debowale, who is a consultant that's been working on this guide, for us to identify those that are on the call, please, I shared a link on the group, and also you can scan this code on the screen to mark attendance, please, so that we can always communicate further information to you. Please take out a few minutes to fill this attendance form. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or you can use the link in the chat box to quickly do that. And on that note, I would hand over to Mr. Adebowale Adeniji to take us through the report, the draft as we have it, and after which we'll take feedbacks, reviews from participants on the call. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Adebowale.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Debo Adeni. Delighted to be here. And I want to thank NECA for the opportunity and the ILO for the opportunity given to us in working with you in this, in preparing this ESG implementation guide for MSMEs in Nigeria. I hope everyone can hear me so that I'm not speaking to myself.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you very much for that confirmation. This is coming at the right time when regulatory landscape is changing, quite a lot of stakeholders are really demanding businesses everywhere to, show responsibilities, and I commend NECA for bringing this initiative forward. Implementation of ESG in Nigeria for companies have become very robust and tedious exercise, and a lot of organizations are finding it very difficult to navigate themselves around the requirement and what that is needed to be done. The Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria has also brought out guidelines, IFRS, Sustainability Disclosure Standard, and the likes, and stated that MSMEs or SMEs should mandatorily comply by 2030, which is about 4 years away. So this guide is coming out at the right important time to guide MSMEs in this process, and will help them in complying with the IFRS S1, S2 of the Financial Reporting Council, or the mandate going forward by 2030. So I'll go into the guide now. This is the cover page, ESG implementation guide for MSMEs in Nigeria, a practical roadmap for environmental social governance adoption. So the second page is about the table of contents, and with the numbering. Okay, that's the second page. The executive summary is the third page that summarizes the essence of the whole exercise and what is expected of the MSMEs, in using the guide in a practical perspective. So MSMEs, it is important that they are not to implement ESG the same way large companies are doing, because some of the questions that we have come across in our years of engaging with various companies, we see that large corporations like Access Bank are doing this, measuring their scope 3 and all of that. We saw investment that have been put in place. How are we going to do that? Do we have the money? Do we have the wherewithal, the technology, the manpower, the tools like these people? How are we put on the same path? So it is important to note that proportionality principle apply where you implement ESG, made them to realize that ESG can be implemented in a way that, in a simple way, You don't have to be at the same proportion level or proportional level with the large organizations. There are practical steps to take, which, are stated in the guide, the steps of implementation, and certain tools that will assist implementation. So MSMEs do not need to do everything at once, but start where you are, focus on material issues, only issues that are material to you, act consistently, keep evidence of your progress, and strengthen your system over time. The fourth page, talks about how to use this guide, just to show a few steps for navigation. Who should use this guide, what it helps you to do, how to navigate, and what this guide helps businesses to do, which has been stated, starting ESG in 30 days, identifying risks, self-assessment, action plan, begin implementation, and all of that. So simplifying it this way will, encourage many of the MSMEs that are largely confused on how and where to start. And this actually captures their expectation. Section 1 looks at, which is the next page, I think this page 6. Yes, page 5. Understanding ESG for MSMEs. What is ESG in a simple term? Have been defined, environmental, social governance, and some of the components, environmental aspect that contain the environmental aspects like water, waste, energy, and all of that, and emissions. On the social landscape, issues around treating people fairly, workers, social health and safety, community relation, and the likes. On the governance aspect, ethics and compliance, operating with integrity, transparency, transparent records, reporting, and the likes. So it was further explained in the 3-pillar detail, where it was highly detailed here, so that they have understanding of what those components are that on the environmental landscape, social landscape, governance landscape, and why ESG matter for you as an MSMEs, regulatory compliance. Like I said earlier, 2030 MSMEs are meant to comply, whether irrespective of how big you are, in as much as you are a regulated entity, you are meant to comply, going forward. And we need to let them know that we give them access to finance. And many financial institutions, in fact, we are partners to many of them. They do call us to help, assess the state of companies that they are meant to fund. So in funding companies today, MSMEs, large corporations have to go through environmental and social due diligence, screening and the likes, quite a number of assessments to conduct ESG gap analysis to know where they are, where they need to be, identify the gaps. So investors want to see the risk you are faced with before they put their funds down. So for MSMEs who have this guide, can help, use it so as to be able to prepare themselves so as to be able to comply with whatever requirement of the investors for them to have access to finance. Supply chain requirements are also saying, before we can buy from you or before we can transact business with you, you must show us your ESG compliance level and also give a competitive advantage. It helps you to save costs. Your energy bill will be reduced. If you adopt solar energy system, you have few initiatives to say, turn off electrical appliances that are not in use. Instead of using two sides of the paper, one side of the paper, use two sides to save costs, and so many initiatives that can be brought forward will help to save costs. So risk management, reputational, and all of that, trust. So the business case also cited to show that it is practical. So on the page 7, we looked at the regulatory landscape, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria roadmap, mandatory ESG disclosure for 2030, the CBN, Sustainable Banking Principles, the NESTRIA Environmental Standard, National Environmental Standard, Climate Change Act 2021, the Exchange Group Sustainability Disclosure Guideline, MSME Corporate Governance Guideline 2024, Labor Acts, and so on and so forth. And page 8 has to look at the 10 steps ESG implementation roadmap, which is within the purview of the TOR, given to us to identify risk, stakeholder mapping and materiality assessment, self-assessment, set priorities, developing policies, improve continuously, report and communicate, track KPI, assign roles, embed in operation. So what we did is to, by page by page, went into the steps so that they understand that it's not only about itemizing this. What are they going to do if they need to identify risk? So you have to understand and identify ESG risks, and behind every ESG risk, there are opportunities. So the exercise is to develop basic awareness of ESG risks and opportunity relevant to the business. So everybody business faces potential risks and also opportunity. So these are the steps in identifying what matters to your business as key numbers of questions that can be asked. You can ask yourself, do we consume significant energy, water, or other natural resources? Do we generate waste, solid waste, liquid waste, emission? Are you dependent on natural resources? Do you face regulatory pressure or none of that? On the social risks, do you employ workers? What are the key labor and safety risks in the sector? And you ask the same set of questions on the governance landscape. Then the sector-specific ESG risk overview for manufacturing, energy consumption, waste generation, water usage, emission, and the likes. Issues around worker safety, they have to do with factory and all of that, fair wages, working hour, occupational health and safety on the governance level, record keeping, environmental and labor law compliance, and so on and so forth. Opportunities are also there to consider. They are not exhaustive, but they are the basic, things that one should know. On the step 2 for stakeholder mapping and materiality assessment, it is important to note that ESG and sustainability is stakeholder-driven, first and foremost. It's about stakeholder, the impact of the business on the business itself, and the impact of the business on the stakeholder. You don't make the profits from heaven. The profit the organization is making happen because the stakeholders made it to happen. For example, the workers are part of the stakeholders that help to put business processes together for another stakeholder like customers to come and buy and patronize the business. So it is important that the concept of ESG revolves around stakeholders. So common MSME stakeholders are highlighted here, why they matter, they are stated here, and why they matter. Typical ESG concerns of each of those stakeholders are also highlighted so that everybody is aware that, okay, customer, why they matter, revenue and business growth, typical concern, product quality, safety, ethical practices, and the likes. Simple stakeholder mapping approach also that can be used to see the influence and the level of impact of stakeholders, employees, high, ESG concern, safety, welfare, what customers in terms of level of impact and the like. So the essence of that is to have background understanding of what stakeholders could be and the impact they could have, and you also can have on them. So materiality assessments, on the other hand, is talking about what is really material, and we brought out the concept to say, okay, how do you even identify what is material to you? You know, what materiality means, identifying the ESG issues that are most relevant to your business operations, and not only your business operations, there are even issues that are relevant to the stakeholders like employees, customer, regulators, you know, banks, and the likes. Not all ESG issues are equally important. So we need to establish that, which is key. You know, you can't be focusing and putting all resources, allocating all resources, energy, and all of that to non-material issues. So for MSMEs, it is important to prioritize key issues that are clearly material, while you know, stage manage or in session manage the other important issues that also might be of important but not very urgently important. So we came up with this simplified materiality matrix, although there are also different materiality matrix concepts like double materiality concept and all of that. But we just feel because MSMEs, for them to have basic understanding, the simple 2x2 matrix will suffice so as to understand the importance of topics on the business and importance of those topics on stakeholders. So issues that are very high for business and are very high for stakeholders are termed as critical issues. So interpreting the result, high for business, any issues that's very high for business, issues that are high for your stakeholder, they are critical issues that need immediate attention. For example, issues that are here, worker safety, waste management because of regulations and the likes, you know, customer concern and the likes will come up here. So MSMEs will understand what is material to MSME A or company A is not what is clearly material to company B. For example, water is very material to Coca-Cola, but water might not be very material to a bank. You know, Coca-Cola relies heavily on water usage to manufacture beverages and the likes. But a bank doesn't really, rely on water like that for manufacturing or to conduct its service. So water might not be of a very strong material issue to a bank. So the concept is just to say, okay, you as a business, try to identify internally what are those issues that if they happen and they occur, they can really hit your business and also affect your stakeholders. So if we customers, we want to use water to quench our taste. So we need water, we need Coke, we need beverages for our party and other things. And for the business itself, it knows that if there's no water, there's nothing to produce. If you are a manufacturer firm like Coca-Cola. So interpreting that result to say the one at the bottom left, that there are issues that are very low priority to the stakeholder, low priority to the business. It means you can monitor them, might not take immediate action. The ones that are high to business and low to stakeholder can form operational risk. We can manage them closely and the like. So it's just to give simple understanding of how that is achieved. Then we go to step 3, which is to conduct an ESG self-assessment. Assess your current ESG performance to understand where you stand. Self-assessment will help you to evaluate your current ESG practices using simple scoring system. So here we adopted a simple scoring system that where are we in terms of environmental management, our energy management tracking use, efficiency measure, where are we? Are we on zero? Is it not practical? Or are we on the initial stage or developing stage? Have we established system, you know, to manage, to measure our efficiency in terms of energy management? Have we optimized our processes? So whatever stage you are, you just mark it. And on environmental topics, then you see your average score. On social topics also, worker safety and health, where are we? Are we on developing stage, or have we established robust systems, or we have optimized and all of that? So all this are self-assessment tool. Then the score interpretation. This is your starting point for level 1, which is minimal awareness, significant improvement potential, focus on basic policies and records. On basic level 2, basic understanding. On level 3, developing system. Level 4, structural ESG system, and on optimize. That's an advanced ESG management, where you have experience already. So then the next page talks about ESG due diligence, and we put in 6 practical steps. It's part of the assessment that we can do some due diligence in itself also there. While step 4 on page 15, to set ESG priorities align with the business goals. Prioritization is very important. There is need to also, after you have access, you cannot address all the issues at once. These steps helps to just prioritize based on business impact, stakeholders' importance, and implementation visibility. What is visible, what is not visible, what do we need to quickly address that's very cogent and very important, and all of that. Which one is demanding immediate regulatory mandate and compliance? Let's quickly address this because of regulator. Let's quickly address this because the bank that wants to finance us is asking us that if we don't submit this in the next 1 week, we can't get the fund. So you look at, the stakeholder importance, impact of your business, and what is visible that you can also achieve. Looking at materiality, business impact, stakeholder expectation, the risk in terms of compliance and visibility. So priority assessments for MSME, for example, for manufacturing, energy efficiency. So, it's very efficient. Without energy, we can't even own our plants. So, and it will impact our business in itself, our stakeholders, and all of that, and visibility. So 4.8 score comes to that because it's very important. Worker safety is also very key to manufacturing. Without safe and conducive working environment, nobody is going to manufacture because it's labor-intensive sector. Then if you look at water management, those many manufacturers, to some might say, okay, in terms of impact, in terms of depending on the manufacturer and all of that. So you itemize here, you put all the topics and score yourself essentially within that for prioritization. So there's prioritization too in that regard. So simple priority matrix. What is of high priority to us and is easy to implement? Do it immediately. Don't need to, for example, we are spending too much on energy efficiency. What do we need to do? Simple step: turn off electrical appliances that are not in use. It's very cheap, very easy to do. It doesn't cost 1 kobo to say, let's turn off electrical appliances that are not in use, or let's change our traditional yellow bulbs that are maybe 200 watts to energy saving bulb that are 5 watts and 10 watts, and they will still give the same level or even better level of illumination, lightings to the organization. So something that is high and hard, you can plan for midterm and all of that. So this is just to give understanding to whoever that is using the guide that, okay, this is what can be done. On step 5, which is to develop ESG policies and procedure. We've come up with a template, very simple template that can be used in terms of the drafting a policy. There is no standard policy requirements, but a policy must have necessary ingredient and component. In as much as it has necessary ingredient and component, then it becomes a useful template. A policy structure should have policy title. For example, environmental management policy must have an effective date, a review date, when it will be reviewed, then the commitment. We are committed to managing energy efficiency. That's the essence of the policy. is just to reduce waste and minimize our environmental impact. Then scope, who and what this policy covers. This policy applies to all employees and covers all our operations at, you mentioned the facility and the branches, if not all the branches, it covers the headquarters only, or covers all our branches, or covers all the entire facility of the organization. The scope must be defined. Then key principles have to be, incorporated, and listed. Responsibilities, who are responsible and all of that, who, reporting line, governance and all of that comes under responsibility. Then implementation actions, list specific actions you will take, in that. Monitoring and review, how you will track progress and review manually. And we put in 2 various policies, just simple template. It can be more, can be expanded, but to demonstrate what have been put there, can be replicated. Worker and safety policy sample, governance and business ethics sample, just to show how it is being represented here. Then on the step 6, embedding ESG into daily operations. How do you now say day to day, all these things we have been talking about, how do we interpret them? Switch off on the environmental landscape on a daily basis, switch off equipment when not in use, segregate waste as source by, recyclable waste, compostable, hazardous waste, paper, you can separate both plastic bottles, plastic waste from paper waste, and the organization can make even money from waste by waste separation. For example, all the plastic bottles in your organization, if you are putting it into a particular bin, companies will come to buy those waste. So you can use such to offset the money that you are using to pay to PSP to throw away waste. And such a number of organizations are doing that already. Check for water leaks, energy waste, review waste segregation compliance on a monthly basis, what should be done. On the social landscape, treat all workers with respect and dignity, ensure workers have breaks and reasonable hours, maintain safety and working condition. On the governance, record all major business transactions and decisions, verify accuracy of records on a monthly basis, reconcile financial report, review compliance calendar on the quarterly basis, review record keeping and the likes. These are just initiatives for things, for internal operation. Practical daily example for manufacturing business. Morning briefing, 10-minute safety briefing. Highlight hazards, reinforce waste segregation, address workers' concern. For production, use efficient settings, segregate waste at station, monitor safety, measure reasonable breaks. End of day, switch off non-essential equipment, ensure waste properly segregated, records and all. So things that can be done. Actionable steps are things that are set there. And you can't do all of this without assigning roles and responsibility. Who is responsible for this and all of that? So we come up with an ESG structure that is very simple for a very small MSMEs that you have only 10 employees or 5 or 20. It's applicable to you. You can look at, okay, from the MD, who is the overall boss. For large corporation, we take it to board level and all of that. Many MSMEs don't really have that board, very active like that and all of that. So we didn't want to make that to be too complex for them to say, but we don't have we have board of directors. Why register the company? Are they really sitting? Are they really, engaging and all of that? So, but clear terms, structure, owners, the managing director, there must be ESG champion that looks at affairs of operation, HR, finance, and all the likes. All employees follow ESG policies daily. It's very clear. Roles and responsibilities now properly defined here. Roles, core responsibility, how they review performance and the likes. It's been put there. Minimum governance practices for MSMEs. So that's the concept. That's the minimum governance practices for MSMEs. Appoint one person as ESG focal person Maintain a simple ESG action plan. Even one page is sufficient. Hold a monthly check-in to review progress on priority actions. Hold a quarterly management review to assess KPIs performance. Document key decisions and review outcomes annually. So clear ESG arrangement with design roles, responsibility, review cadence. ESG is no longer an ad hoc activity. It has ownership, accountability, and structural management process. Step 8 on page 21, track and measure ESG performance. So while doing all you are doing, you can track performance. For example, you adopted an initiative to turn off electrical appliances that are not in use. For exactly 1 month that you have been doing it, did you notice any reduction in your energy bill or in terms of energy consumption? So environmental aspect, okay, we have started turning off electrical appliances. Before, we were using 2,000 kilowatts of electricity. Since we started turning off electrical appliances that are not in use, it has reduced to maybe 1,005. At the annual basis, you can also now multiply by month, by 12 to say, okay, on annual basis, this is what we have reduced. So you have to measure performance, your fuel generator use. After we have deployed solar, our fuel consumption has reduced in terms of liters of fuel we used before. Maybe we use 100 liters, and now that has reduced by a certain number of percent annually. So that's the essence of this step, to track and measure performance. So in tabular form, we have demonstrated what can be interpreted in a simple term and layman language that it's easily understandable. The next one is traffic light monitoring system, which we also use under the KPI, the green, amber, red, urgent action. So anyone that is red is urgent action. The green KPI is at or above target. So once you have met, you set a target that energy consumption should be less than 2,000 kilowatt. And actual result is saying that our energy consumption is this, or has exceeded the performance or the requisite target that you have set, and you put the status as green in that regard. So action that is required will be there, and all of that. Waste generated, this is the amount. Wages, grievance resolved within 30 days, 100%. If you have resolved grievances by 70%, you can put amber to say, yes, we have made significant progress, but we've not been able to go to 100%, but we've done above average. And you put required action to put further steps. So that is just our interpretation. On the 9th step is reporting and communication, which is also very important. Document and communicate your ESG effort to stakeholders, including bank, customer, and regulators. Simple reporting demonstrates commitment and build trust. So you can have a 1 to 2 page annual ESG summary. For most MSME, reporting does not need to be too complex or focus on clear, relevant, and practical information. So even for banks, CBN will say, okay, they will give a reporting template to banks, because we work with them a lot, and they've already put all the checklist. Do you have this? Yes. You just tick the one that applies to you. Have you conducted energy audit this quarter? Well, when last did you conduct energy audit? You put it there. You put a simple reporting tool that will help and assist. So have an ESG summary in the report, your business profile, name, size, location, reporting period, management signature, and all of that will be there. Your ESG issues that you have prioritized is going to be supposed to be captured. The key actions that you've taken in a financial year is going to be captured. The key performance, KPI performance, is also captured. Challenges and what you have learned, then plan for the next period is captured. So, for example, ESG summary report is like this: 2025 introduction. Provide a brief statement about your commitment to ESG and why it matters to your business. We are committed to operating responsibly by reducing environmental impact, supporting our employees and community, and maintaining strong. So you put your environmental performance, date, key actions you've taken, your target and all of that on this on this type of template, and you have a simple communication tool that can help you in projecting what you have done in a particular period. The step 10 is continuous improvement. Establish a cycle of regular review and improvement of ESG practices. ESG plan implementation is an ongoing process. You cannot finish it in one exercise. And the goal is to improve systematically over time through a regular review. So most of the clients we have worked with, we didn't let them understand that everything has to be done at once. When we conducted ESG gap analysis, it will show a lot of gaps. For some big organization, over 200 gaps. Say, please don't be afraid. We will structure it for you. These are things you should do in the first quarter. In the second quarter, do this. In the third quarter, do this. In 2027, these are things you should do. In 2020, it is at that point their mind will now go down that, oh, we thought we have to do everything at once. So you have to have a monthly program, quarterly program, annual program and all of that would help to review your improvement. So when you put into all this perspective, KPIs, dashboard, to check, monitor, and all of that, it is easy to tick which one you have done right, which one is not done right, is our progress so far. Report will help you to see where you are, that from last year to this year, we have improved. Before, we are recording 50 accidents annually. Last year, we recorded 50 accidents. But because of XYZ we have put in place through this ESG implementation guide alone, our accident rate has reduced by 50%. We have reduced our accident from 50 to 25, which is progress. And that is why monitoring is very important. So all this shows monitoring mechanism and all of that. Then on page 25, we now started going into practical tools and templates. So this section provides ready-to-use tools and templates that SMEs can adopt to their specific contents and size. All tools are designed to be practical, simple, and proportionate to the realities of small and medium businesses in Nigeria. The tools can be used independently. So, for example, on the step 1 that says ESG self-assessment, you can have this checklist to put some of these things in place. The topics might not be totally exhaustive. MSMEs can still add key topics that are relevant to them, and using the same format: energy consumption tracking, current evidence, our priority gap, what is our score, and all of that. This is a checklist. The tool 2 is ESG risk register. Environmental. The risk identified is that we have not complied with necessary waste regulation. No. Potential impacts, high. Fines, shut down. Likelihood, medium. Priority level, high, very high. Mitigation action is to establish waste management protocol, engage licensed waste handlers. Responsible is our operational leader is responsible, but we target that by 2026 first quarter, we should do this. So when you have a register, it will show you clearly what are your mitigation action plan, what is the risk in itself, electricity cost due to inefficiency. We are consuming too much of energy. So this is very high. It will impact on our what's it called? Our cost of running business. It will impact on our profit in itself. So what do we need to do? Let's conduct energy audit first and foremost to identify where all our electricity usage is coming from and install energy efficient lighting, retrofitting, and all of that. The head of operation that is in charge of that one. We should do that by quarter 2. So the pattern is like that, and the trend. So MSMEs can have a register like this on the social topic, workers' injury due to poor safety practices is the risk identified and is very high. Monthly safety inspection is the mitigation action plan. So monthly safety inspection will provide PPE, personal protective equipment, and will conduct training. HR is the one that is in charge of that one, which is very high. So the two can be used to replicate any in any organization, be it big, large, with any size and all of that. You just put in the topics and use it to track the risk and what you need to do and all of that. Then the 2-3 for action, ESG action plan. Worker safety is the priority issue. What is our current status? Basic awareness, no formal system. Target, 0 issues in 2026, specific action, to develop safety inspection checklist and the like. So the action plan, what you want to do, the resources that are very important is there, the responsible officer, the deadline, and the status. That's where you put in the amber color. If it's in progress, yellow. If it has not started, you put it red. If it's complete, you've done it, is in green and all of that, just to track. So anywhere you see red, you know that this one is very it has not been done at all, and there's need to carry it out. No tracking in place, reduced by 10% in December. We need to record monthly meter readings, identify inefficient equipment, upgrade lighting to LED. Energy audit budget must be there. Operation is in charge and all of that. So it's a tool that can also be used by MSMEs. 4 is monitoring and reporting template, which we've demonstrated here. This is a 1-page ESG summary for a small bank, maybe like a microfinance. Say, okay, ESG management statement is here as of 2026. Environmental management, we are committed to this. We are committed to that. We maintain 100% compliance with the environment and all the things that is done on the environment. You state it there. On the social side, it's stated there. On the governance side, it's stated there. And there's conclusion, and you sign off. So monitoring and reporting templates, similar to what was done in the previous page, was brought here. So also so that MSMEs can have a reflection of how it is done, and the sample is also there. So what other things? I think that's that about those tools. Then we have on page 30 sector-specific examples. We drill example from manufacturing, from agriculture, and case studies, using Nigerian specific example. On trading and retail, we brought key examples and case studies. On construction, we brought the case studies. Health and education, and brought a case study. Transport and logistics, food processing and hospitality. So we drill those what's it called now, sector specific examples from those sectors. Then frequently asked question is also another section, which it starts on page 32. Some of the core questions that MSMEs are always asking: is ESG only for large companies? No, and we explain. How much does ESG implementation cost? Because many of them do ask the question, how much is it going to cost us? So it does not have to be expensive. Many important actions, policy writing, self-assessment, record staff, many things like that can be done internally. Some actions like energy efficiency upgrade require investment, but typically generate returns through cost savings that outweighs the investment within 12 to 24 months, and which is true. Energy consumption, the energy bulb, for example, the yellow bulb, that is 200 watts, is cheaper. Maybe it's sold for 500 naira. The white bulb is sold for maybe 2,000 naira. That one consumes little electricity, but the cost initially is expensive to buy the white bulb, which is energy saving bulb. but the yellow bulb is more expensive, but consume bigger electricity. So over time, in the space of 12 months, it will result to more energy bill. But the one for the white bulb, that's energy efficient bulb, will is initially costly, but will reduce energy consumption. So in the long run effect, the one that is energy efficient bulb that is initially costly is the most cost efficient solution. And those are the questions people are asking. So we let them realize that the savings aspect, there are savings aspects. Initial investment might come, but you will generate your return through savings that will definitely outweigh the investment within 12 to 24 months. So where should we start? We have given the analysis where they should start with the issues, move material to your business, use the self-assessment in the section 3, identify your 3 priority issues, assign one person as a focal point, begin keeping records, set simple targets, start small and build gradually. The first 90 days should focus on assessment, policy drafting, record keeping, and the like. Q4, what do banks expect from us? We have stated it there. How do we dedicate sustainability team? So these are some of the questions asked by MSMEs, what record and all of that, and so on and so forth. We try to provide answers. And we started going to that annexes, Nigerian regulatory framework summary, international ESG framework, key contact and resources, phased implementation timeline, ESG evidence and record checklists. These are supporting, information, supporting information that can assist references and further reading. And we'll come to the end of the implementation, ESG implementation guide for MSMEs in Nigeria. So thank you very much for listening.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Debo. Thank you. I can see some show of hands appreciating your effort of running us through the drafts. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm sure you've put a bit more light to it. For those that are that this is their first time of coming across the document, you've been able to, explain the content of the draft. I also shared the link in the chat box for those that are just coming across it. Some of us might need some more time to, go look at it again. And but based on what he has said, based on him running us through this, I'll yield the floor to my colleague Isabella Hussein, who is the Assistant Director in the Learning and Development Unit in NECA, to run us through, getting feedback from people on this call, your reviews, your contributions. Although we've gotten some contributions from majorly from the ESG Advisory Board members, but I'll hand over to Isabella now to take comments from the group, take us through the review and the validation of this document. Over to you, Isabella. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yemisi, and thank you, Mr. Debo, for that overview of the draft document. So permit me, if you hear any background noise, I'm actually out of the office at the moment. Okay, so this is how we would go about the validation very quickly, because this seems to be like the more, where more of the work will be done after the overview by Mr. Debo. So we are basically here to validate, to challenge, and improve the guide. That's our major focus. And so we'll be doing that via some priority areas, or what you may want to call focus areas. So we'll be looking at how relevant this guide is to the MSMEs, since this is the focus. We'll be looking at the practicability of the guide. Now, all of those things that have been stated, how practicable is it for MSMEs to adopt? And then we would also be looking at other sector realities, considering that we are from various sectors. So would like for you to contextualize it for SMEs within your context. So, and then are there any risk that probably wasn't looked at, or any gaps or anything missing? And that's the fourth one. And the fifth one, we would be looking at the implementation feasibility. So, but before we go further, I would like to remind us that after this guide, has been adopted, and we now, we now make copies of it. Another part of this project is to, train a couple of MSMEs on how to use it or how to adopt it. So just giving that context so that we know that we are not just making a document that we just dump. We are going to train people on how to use it, who in turn will train others. And of course, that's why we have all of you here. In one way or the other, we would require your support in terms of, ensuring that this trickle down to the people who actually need it. So that's one part. And then I think the second part is just to let us know that we received some comments already from our advisory board members who had initially gone through the document. And as Yemisi has mentioned, the link to the document is in the chat box, so you could still go through it and contextualize it with what we have listened to in the course of the presentation. But also to say that because we give comments much earlier doesn't mean we can't actually make input or feedback. Saying that this is now a more interactive session or engagement, you may want to give live or context to some of the notes that you gave earlier. So that's that. Mr. Debo, I want to believe in terms of documentation, some member of your team are online to be able to capture the comments and feedback that will be given, or at least as rapporteurs. So just, I don't know if this session is also recorded. And then, okay. All right, great. Thank you. And then, of course, in terms of our feedback, as much as possible, try to make it structured. Saying that this is not physical, so we may not be very detailed. Maybe not detailed is the word. So we may not be able to, maybe break out into sessions, get feedback group by group. So we'll be taking feedback from everybody here. You may do well by using the unmute button. So you may feel free to speak, and then Mr. Debo would be able to respond appropriately where he has to, or just note the comment. And then, of course, you can also use the chat box as well if maybe you can't speak at the moment. So this, we would begin. Okay, so I will turn off my video just so that I can be able to navigate my screen more effectively for any comments. So now, please remember, in terms of our feedback, the relevance of this guide to MSMEs, how practicable is it in terms of the guidelines, the recommendations, the tools, and all that has been documented, as well as are there any gaps that we are missing, or is there any risk that we haven't yet identified? And then, of course, how feasible is the implementation? So that's what we'll be looking at. So any comments from anyone here before we proceed? In the event there are no comments, I will go through the comments that we received in writing. So please, of course, the chairman as well, please feel free to interject at any point in the course of this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, we have hands raised already, so we can
start. Sorry. Okay, yeah, great. So I was just turning off my video so I can open multiple screen. Okay, great. So
I think
okay, please go ahead. Who was the first person, please?
Victoria.
I'm not
Victoria, please go ahead.
Okay, Madam Victoria, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Chairman, thank you very much for this presentation, sir. Going through the guideline earlier, I thought it was quite comprehensive. And I think it's straightforward and simple. And, MSMEs could just simply take the pages and, input their content and use the guide as metrics for interpreting the data when they filled out the details of where they are, which is basically the baseline. So really, thank you for this very practical guide to adopting ESG. Now, a couple of things. Among the MSMEs in our climb, I see that a number of them are service industries. You did include it in the comments that, the guide also works for consultants, media, communication agencies, and all. So I would ask if we could include one example, where you have examples for manufacturing and all of that, a practical example that they can look at, because sometimes people think that ESG is just about environmental impact, social impact seems to fly over the top of their heads, and then governance. So if we could include one example, I think it would be very helpful. The other thing is that you've talked about the benefits of MSMEs adopting ESG. One key benefit, even today, is looking at the major challenges that MSMEs have, which is a route to market, and also access to financing when they want to scale. One of the things that we find that is becoming more mandatory for larger organizations is that they need to ensure that everyone within their value chain has ESG reporting, or can show where they're at with ESG, with their risks and all of that. So that's one example. If you want to get access to market and you want to, be part of the value chain of large organizations, which may lead to more profitable businesses, that is an advantage for adopting it today without waiting for 3030. I think the final thing is on page 11. When I took a look at it, you might want to take a look at some of the punctuations and spacing. But apart from that, I really enjoyed reading this, and I thought, I had many aha moments. So good, great. So thank you very much. That's it from me.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Victoria. So she's made mention of including more practical examples on service industry, as well as including access to financing. And I remember there was a comment as well about that in some of the comments that we got in terms of including access to green loans as part of the ESG options to ESG opportunities to consider. Thank you very much. Okay, so over to you, Professor Allen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, permit me to stand on existing protocol. The draft is a strong and credible foundational ESG implementation guide for the MSMEs. But in my opinion, I think it should not be presented yet as a fully global best practice benchmark without substantive revision. I did a thorough review, and based on the following, the proportionality principle and business case on page 3 to 6. I hope Mr. Debo is noting that. I have the full report submitted to the DG and Mrs. EMC, so you can also get it from them. The regulatory landscape on page 7, the stakeholder mapping and materiality on pages 10 to 11, ESG due diligence on page 14, the KPI and monitoring architecture on pages 21 to 22, the annual reporting model on page 23, the sector-specific application on pages 30 to 31, and the annexes from page 34 to 40. It's a long review, but I'll just summarize part of the things. You can have a look at the main reports later. So I came up with the following. The practical usability for MSMEs, my judgment, that is a very strong one. But the guide is highly usable as a starter implementation tool. The Nigerian contextual relevance, I also say is good. The local framing is credible, but some regulatory references now require updating. So you note that international standards alignment, my judgment is partial. The guide is globally informed, but not yet globally complete. Your materiality methodology, my judgment is from weak to moderate. The current model is too simplified for best practice positioning. The climate and value chain readiness is also moderate as per my judgment. The guide is directionally relevant but lacks methodological depth. Human rights and grievance architecture is weak. That's my judgment. Important global social safeguards are underdeveloped. Reporting and assurance readiness. For me, my judgment that is basic. The reporting model is suitable for beginners, but not assurance ready. So some of my key findings include one, that the document is strong where it is most practical. The guide is credible on Nigerian relevance, but parts of the regulatory treatment are they are too generic. The materiality approach is too simplified for a best practice claim. The climate component is present but not methodologically strong. The social pillar is directionally sound, but major human rights and decent work pain points are underdeveloped. The due diligence treatment is promising, but still too light. The KPI and reporting architecture is useful only for entry-level implementation, but not yet ready for stronger disclosure environments. The nature, the biodiversity, and data governance are underrepresented. The document contains credibility pain points that should be corrected before the final release. So I have some recommendations which I would want you to go. I have in three priority areas. Priority one is the revisions that should be made before the external positioning. Under my priority two, revisions that will materially elevate the guide toward international best practice. And then priority three is editorial and presentation improvements. So my final recommendation is that the guide, in my opinion, should be approved in principle as a strong foundational ESG implementation instrument for Nigerian MSMEs, but should be revised before it is positioned as a national benchmark or internationally aligned best practice reference. to me, in its current form, the document already has substantial value. It is practical, it is well structured, it is context aware, and more implementable than many of the ESG guidance documents that I've come across that are aimed at smaller enterprises. Its treatment of proportionality, sequencing, governance assignments, self-assessment, and operational tools is especially strong. However, I would advise that NECA should be clear-eyed about its limitations. The guide is not yet methodologically strong enough on materiality, on climate architecture, supplier due diligence, human rights treatment, grievance design, data governance, and regulatory precision to support a full best practice claim without qualification. So my recommendation is this: let's retain the core architecture of the draft, preserve its practical MSME-centered character, which is very important, then make priority one revisions before final public release, and treat the priority two revisions as the work required to elevate the guide from a good national implementation manual to a document that can credibly withstand external comparison against leading global ESG guidance frameworks. So those are my points. The full report, you can get it from Sister Olu IMC, okay, or the DG that fully highlights what the pain points are. So thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you, Professor Allen, for that very detailed feedback. I want to believe that those comments, please confirm, were already shared with the consultant. And if so, I believe now is a good time to get clarity and context on some of those recommendations that Professor Allen has put forward. And please just maintaining in mind that this is a guide for MSMEs. So whatever our conversation, we shouldn't lose the context. So Mr. Debo, over to you, please. Are there any clarity you require, or are the comments noted, or is there any, just so that we come to a consensus?
Okay, thank you very much, the moderator. Thanks so much, Victoria, Professor Allen, for the comments. All are well noted. The Madam Yemisi has sent some, comments and reviews to me earlier, which I've started studying them and all of that. All these comments that have been made are noted very well. And the document that were sent, we have seen, and the projects and the work done was done based on the TOR that were given, and the focus on MSMEs and not make the document to be too complex for the MSMEs and all of that. And we try to stay within the term of reference given to us and all of that. From some of the guide that we're seeing, not some cogent important points that are there. There are some that we feel that might not really be immediately practicable or relevant to what the document is saying, to keep it simple, straight, and ensure that we work within the guide and all of that. For example, one of the comments was saying that there is need to have a QR code inserted in the document where some tools will be referenced and all of that, like the ROI, return on investment, calculator, this and that, and all of that. In ESG, we have more than 1,000 tools, and we can't reference everything. The basic ones have to be referenced. So many things still have to be done, even with the guide. Implementation of some of the standards requires some other more robust and intense exercises. So, but we've seen many of those comments. We are going to take as much as possible, but we might not be able to take all. There was some that was sent over maybe 50 different comments and all of that. If you have to take everything, the document will be spanning into 200 pages, 150 pages, and we make everything too voluminous, and we box ourselves out of proportion and out of context in itself. So systematically, based on our own experience and all of that, we've seen some gaps that have been identified, even from Professor Allen and all of that. We're going to incorporate majority of them. Might not be totally 100%, but at least to a greater extent, incorporate them where practicable. So like I said, we want to work within the guide as much as possible, and what was given and all of that, and the language, the tone, and all the parameters that have been given to us in ensuring everything is implementable. So be rest assured that improvement will come to the guide, and so many of the steps comment that have been sent to us will be taking effect. And by the time you get the final document, you see most of some of the concerns and comments raised implemented. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good thing that the reviews are coming with recommendations, right? So it even gives you, something to work with so that you're not just going on a wild goose chase. So thank you to everyone for those reviews and comments. Prof, I see your hand, but is it in response or are you raising another concern?
No, it's in response.
Sorry, Dr. Eugene has had his hand up for a while, in case you didn't notice.
Oh, okay.
That's why, yes, I
Okay.
noticed. That's why I'm asking if it's in response or it's a new comment.
No, it's
So
just
we
1
take
minute.
Dr.
It's not a
Eugene
new
first.
comment. It's
Okay.
just 1 minute, yeah. Mr. Debo,
Okay.
please, I'm available if you need further clarifications on my position on the pain points.
Okay, sir.
You can always contact me. I'm available, please.
Oh,
Thank
no
you.
problem, sir. Thank you so much. God bless.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Prof. And then please, to the audience, regardless of who is giving the feedback, please feel free to weigh in on the conversation, because the more conversation we have, the more we break it down, then the better the guide will be. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Eugene, please, over to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Debo. Thank you for the good work. And I already had shared my own opinion, and I sent 2 tables. One had talked about what had worked well or is working well, the session, the enrichment opportunity that you have got in there, required enhancement, and then the placement, where, for instance, you can place whatever suggestions I had made. But I just wanted to thank you for the responses you have given so far regarding the observations. And this some of us have already sent, and so please kindly work with that. If you have any doubt as to what we meant, reach out. I think Yemisi can get across to all of us so that we don't belabor this issue. Recall earlier at the outset, Yemisi had said that we're going to spend about 1 hour. Is time becoming a materiality issue now? I don't know. So it's going to be past 11 very soon. I'm not too sure if we had actually announced that it will take more time from us, but just to say, ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest that this document we are validating, that we go ahead with the validation, but however, all our opinions should be incorporated. But of course, you cannot take everything. As much as possible, take what will make this work well. It should be a simple guide for the businesses we're looking at to be able to use it very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All noted, sir.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay. Yes, please, Madam Loveland, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is such a beautiful work. Because I also want to keep to time, I'm just going to make it quick. Just one recommendation. The work is tight, very beautiful. I'll just focus on some of the practical tools that we're given. But before talking about that, I would love to mention that when we looked at as an introductory part, the major driver is the fact that there's going to be a regulatory, mandate, the IFRS, ISSB standards. And if you look at the standard, they are basically climate focused. So when I looked at the practical tools, the self-assessment checklist, risk assessment, even the sector-specific examples for basically manufacturing, agriculture, retail, transport and logistics, and construction, these are high carbon intensive industry. Okay, I found out that all of them omitted emissions as one of the top ESG priorities. So if you are trying to get them ready to be able to, adopt best practices and also align with regulatory requirements, then I think this should also serve as a training and also, inform them on what to do. So I would want emissions management to be included as one of the ESG priorities. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Madam Loveland. Emissions management is a gap that she has noticed in the draft, and I do believe that has been taken into consideration. So it's up to Mr. Debo to find how to simplify that for the MSMEs. Thank you. Anyone else, please? Especially if you haven't sent in your revisions much earlier, because the consultant is already working with those comments that have been earlier provided. Okay. All right. So I would just like to hand over to the chairman first before we proceed in terms of getting the validation consensus and closing out the meeting. Over to you, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Sorry, MEC, I lost contact. What can you take that again?
Yes, sir. So I said, so I believe we've exhausted all the comments and feedback from the audience. So we would just like to take a feedback from you before we close out on the validation, that is getting the final consensus. Just a comment from you before we proceed. I hope I was audible. Oh, okay. All right. So Yemisi just mentioned something to me. All right, great. Thank you. So from our conversation so far, there's a clear agreement that first and foremost, the guide is very relevant. The guide is comprehensive, it is strong, it is credible. I'm using words with which or adjectives which we've used to describe. It is straightforward, it is simple, and it is also a foundational guide, which is going to be easy for MSMEs to use. However, there have been key areas for improvement, and since we've made the comments and we didn't get objections, so it's
Hello, Carol. Yes,
Mr. Babalola, Mr. Thomas, I think you can mute yourself. You're audible. Great, thank you. So key areas for improvement that have been noted includes including examples on service industry so that we are not just focused on a particular sector. That's also because there are other, based on the three pillars of ESG. Also, we've spoken about making it more globally compatible in terms of international standards. So I believe there are other countries who have also developed ESG implementation guides for MSMEs, even some as recent as 2026. So I believe those can be some reference points. There are also some documents from the ILO as well that can, point us in the direction of global best practice. We've also had comments in terms of building up in terms of the materiality. I know there were about 3 comments, even in the review, that spoke about the materiality. While I understand that the consultant is trying to keep it simple, but since we've gotten feedback on that, it would be best to look at those comments and also see what can be done with regards to that. Then also there's comments in terms of on the social pillar, human rights protection, decent work, pain point. That was emphasized by Professor Allen. So we may also have to pay attention to that. And then, of course, in terms of emissions management, referring to the standards, which we are obviously preparing the MSMEs to adopt. So emissions management also came in as the final comment. But overall, the general consensus is that this guide is going to be very effective, given, pending when all of this has been put in and then revised when we get the final document. So but I think we didn't have so much comments in terms of simplifying language, which is good. Just a few formatting comments were also given, which that I believe you've taken into consideration. So the language in itself is simple. We didn't get any feedback regarding that. So I want to believe that was simple, it was clear. And I also, in terms of implementation, I believe the implementation or the adoption as well, we didn't get any comment on that. So I want to believe that we agree that the implementation is feasible for MSME. The findings as well, we've aligned with that based on the comments that we've received. So I'm just trying to go through my screen to see if there's any other thing we probably have missed. I think that's about it. I would not touch on the other comments that we received in writing, just so that we can save time. So that's about it. And I'm pausing to see if there's any other last minute comments or, last minute addition. But in that case, we don't have anything. So based on the feedback that has been shared so far by Mr. Debo, the comments we have, so do we agree that these comments and improvements that we've suggested, this guide is practicable and useful, for SMEs? That's in principle. We are agreeing in principle that so far we can run with these documents, pending when he makes those additions or those feedback that we've gotten. So we can just do that by a show of our hands, and if you do not agree, please, we can have that comment now. Okay, so I'm just reading a comment from Madam Victoria. She says, simple guide as an entry point. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Okay, great. All right. So based on all the feedback we've captured, and pending, of course, when we get the final version, which we will share to everyone here, and that's why MEC has been emphasizing on attendance. We believe that this guide will reflect the inputs from this validation session as much as possible and as practicable as possible, still ensuring that we stay within the scope and the TOR of this project. All right. So without further ado, I don't know, Yemisi, I'll hand over to you shortly just so that you can run us through the remaining points on the agenda. But I would like to appreciate everyone here for listening. The fact that you were here, you listened, showed that, you were part of the process. And since you had no comments, it means there were no objections and you agree, at least majorly with the insights from the documents. Thank you to everyone who has made inputs, both in writing before now and those who have verbally made comments here. Your contributions have, of course, made the guide even more practical and relevant. So thank you, everyone. And I would hand over back to Yemisi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Isabella, for taking us through that validation process. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for your wonderful contributions. The next on the agenda is next steps, and some of it has already been mentioned. I've dropped a link in the group, in the chat, for those that haven't seen the document before now. We still have the opportunity to take a few hours to look through it. If you have any comments, you can always share with us. You can send to us by email, by WhatsApp, any medium you feel is appropriate. Will give us up until close of business on Thursday, that is the 23rd of April, to get in our comments. You can use the link, access the link, and go through the materials at your own pace, and then give feedbacks, give comments, and then it will be incorporated into the final draft. All the comments, all the feedbacks have been taken in, and like rightfully said, Isabella and the consultants will do our possible best to incorporate it. Okay. And then another part of the next steps, once the final draft is out, we'll be taking some SMEs through a training session, to be able to use this guide. We'll run them through the usage of the guide. That will be done sometime early in the month of May. We'll communicate the specific dates to you so that you can, be part of that. We can register. If you ask MSMEs around you that need to, benefit from that training, we'll be happy to have them. And another thing I also wanted to mention is that, there's a scope to this project. Some of us are not aware of the TOR that governed this conversation, but as much as is applicable outside that scope and that we think will benefit the material, we'll definitely incorporate that. I can see a question from Madam Victoria. Let me just take that quickly before we wrap it up. I have a quick question. Would there be a step in the process where we get to input from SMEs on the draft before the final version? Yes, some of them are on this call. Some are already sending their inputs to us, directly. Some of them don't want to speak, but we are getting comments, we are getting feedback from them. And if you also have some around you, we can also share the link with them, the link to the draft. They can look through it and give us feedback, and it will be looked into. Okay, great job and presentation. Thank you, everyone. Please drop the link again. I got cut off. Okay, my colleague has already done that. Isabella has done that. And also for those that are yet to fill the attendance form, so that we could get to communicate with you as the process progresses, please try to fill the attendance form so we have your details and we can always reach out to you. We also want to use the opportunity to appreciate the ILO. Without the ILO, we won't be in this particular session at this moment. The conversation all started from ILO, and they've been guiding us and been holding our hands through the process and giving us this opportunity. The project is actually sponsored by the ILO. Although the colleagues from ILO are unavoidably absent, but they are sharing their comments and their feedback also on the draft. And we also have one of our very own person from ILO, although she has retired, but because of the relationship we have, she's also on the call. She's also sent her own comments and feedbacks also. Julie, we appreciate you for always being there. Thank you. Thank you for not leaving us, despite the fact that you retired, but you're always with us. Thank you. And on that note, I'll hand over to the second vice chairman of the advisory board in person of Mrs. Lovelyn Okoye to take us through the closing remark. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Yemisi, and thank you, everyone. So, distinguished stakeholders, partners, and MSME champions present, I was really excited to hear that we have some MSME ambassadors and organization owners present, because we can be discussing what should benefit them in their absence. So good morning, everyone. Today, we did not merely initiate the process of validating just a document, but we committed to validating a future where MSMEs can confidently meet ESG requirements. Like all of us know, for too long, ESG has sounded just like a language reserved for big boardrooms. It's been, abstract. And the main focus had been on basically listed entities and, of course, PIEs, public interest entities as well. But we all know, and from this meeting, we know that the truth is that Nigerian economy breathes through its MSMEs. If ESG does not work for the woman producing home and personal care products in Oregon, for instance, or the young man that is upcycling plastics in Aba, then it's not working for Nigeria. So this implementation guide is NECA's commitment to ensure that ESG and sustainability is not just another burden on small businesses, but rather a shield against risk. This had been mentioned today, and also a ladder to greener and better opportunities. So as we close, my charge is simple. After the launch of this document, NECA's intent is to ensure that when next we meet, we would not just gather to discuss potentials, but we should also gather to count the MSMEs that accessed cheaper capital, that have won bigger, greener fundings, bonds, or contracts, and of course, slept better at night because ESG finally have worked for them. So to MSMEs listening, once this is launched, please test it, and we look forward to celebrating your success stories. And to every partner and regulator here, please reward the early adopters. And I must appreciate the NECA DG for being very progressive and always beginning with those at the very bottom of the pyramid. To the entire NECA team, Yemisi, Isabel, and colleagues, including the consultant present today, thank you so much for your commitment to this work. To the ESG Advisory Board, our chairman, Mr. Femi Jayola, and every member of the ESG Advisory Board present here today, thank you for your intentionality in reviewing and ensuring this materializes. And to every stakeholder present, we hope that you'll be our ambassadors once the final draft is out. So thank you, everyone. And please do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, everyone. And do enjoy the rest of your day, as he has mentioned. Thank you. And we'll reach out to you as soon as we have updated the documents. We still have up until Thursday to receive comments from you. Please do well to share with us if anything still pops up after this meeting. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
MSME. MSMEs. MSMEs.
you.